think he's like us. They really suffered, especially the first 20 minutes. They really had to dig deep to keep Spain out, but they grew in the game without playing particularly well. And in half time, as a fan, there's no lots of goals in this Spain team, as we've seen with the last tournament. If we can maybe get a set piece, the set piece comes, we score. You think you're 1-0 up, it gets disallowed, and then it changed the momentum of the game. I wonder where we're going with football celebrations when you see there's been 2 major incidents in the last few weeks for our teams. With Scotland the other night, the way they celebrated, I think about half the team went in different directions last night celebrating. Lewis Palmer, when he scored for Celtic, the top was off. The come down from that when the goal's not given, it must affect the players. So that's where we're at with VAR. We are thinking, should we really be over celebrating big moments until it's actually given?
It's Stephen McGinn tonight on the Go Radio Football Show, and it's Barry Ferguson as well. I imagine that decision might have had you jumping off the couch watching it last night, Barry, although with the 2 days after the knee operation, maybe jumping off the couch wasn't a great idea. But what did you think about that decision and how it came about last night?
Well, I think first and foremost, John McGinn summed it up perfectly. Frustrating when the referee clearly gives it for a foul, which it was never a foul in a million years, and then 5 minutes later they decide it's for offside, which I think at that stage in the game, I think Spain were becoming to be frustrated, because we were obviously sitting deep and obviously shutting off the areas for them. And then obviously it makes Spain that bit angrier. The fans then get a lift, and then obviously Spain step it up a bit. And at the end, listen, I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to win the game, Spain, because they were very good in terms of possession. But I thought just the refereeing decision was an absolute mess, and I was all for VAR, if I'm being honest with you, Rob. But the more I'm seeing it and the more mistakes it's making, we need to get rid of it. We do.
Is that a goal that would have stood at Hampden? Scotland against Spain at Hampden, would that have been a different story, do you think, rather than the ref thinking, am I going to give that in Seville?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so many ways, different things you can point to. Firstly, I don't think the goalkeeper's saving it if Jack Henry doesn't get involved. And I think after it, I mean, sometimes over the last few years with Austin McPhee as a set piece coach, we've targeted goalkeepers. The player that's in front of the goalkeepers, he has been asked to ruffle up the goalkeepers at times. Asked last night, was Jack Henry maybe to give him a wee nudge? He wasn't. I think he's maybe just, I don't know, he's got caught up in the moment, because McTominay's free kick, it reminded me of Toni Kroos's famous goal for Germany, where you could put any goalkeeper in there and he's not saving it. And as John said, it's such a big moment for Scott. And I think if you give the offside immediately, if it's for offside and it's given, it's really hard to argue. You are thinking, right, well, it's a bit stupid from Jack Henry, shouldn't get involved. It is offside. The goalkeeper's not really claiming for it, but that's what VAR's for. We would love to have what Liverpool got with the audios released and find out what happened. Have they spoke about, look, you've gave for a free kick, but it's actually offside, you need to change that decision? Where is all the communication for that?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you're at the ground, the Tartan Army who were in there at Seville last night, everywhere watching it, you just don't know. You're guessing at how that decision-making process has gone, and it all happened really quickly. I mean, I know that people were saying last night, well, Jack Henry should have just stayed away from the goalkeeper, and then it just sails into the top corner. But when you're Jack Henry and you're up for a set piece and it's whistling in at a rate of knots from Scott McTominay, it's a split second, isn't it? It's difficult to persuade yourself to step away from the goalkeeper.
Rob, there's always going to be slight contact in the box anyway. That's what happens when there's free kicks or corners. That's just part and parcel of football. And there's hardly any contact on the goalkeeper. And if you look at the Spanish goalkeeper and you look at the Spanish players, not one of them are complaining at the time that McTominay's free kick hits the back of the net. Can you argue was it offside? I don't know. The angles that I've seen, I can't really tell. But in terms of the referee, first and foremost, he gave it for a foul, and it was never a foul. And then they decide to change their mind 5 or 10 minutes into the game, which is really frustrating, because I just thought at that stage in the game, listen, Spain had a lot of possession. Listen, they were creating a few chances. We rode their luck a few times, there's no doubt about that. But I just got the feeling that they were becoming frustrated. They made a few changes because obviously the Spanish manager wasn't too happy with the amount of chances we're creating. And I just felt at that stage where when we get that goal, I think we would have come away with the win. There was no doubt about it, because I think that would have sank Spain.
I mean, I think it was offside. I mean, I think the lines, once you put the lines in, I mean, that's kind of factual. I mean, sometimes you're still not convinced. I know what you mean visually looking at it, but I think when they put the lines in and they say that his shoulder's offside or whatever, then okay, you can go with that. Then the point is, are you having an influence in that situation? Because the goalkeeper was moving in the other direction. He would have had to be moving really quickly the other way to have had any chance of getting a hand on that.
Yeah, initially, I mean, the setup for it, you can only put yourself in the shoes of the defensive team because of the angle. The amount of teams managers I've played in had where they would say, just set it up like a corner when you have someone on the post. So in fairness to Jack Hendry, you're probably, the last thing you're thinking about there is maybe McTominay shooting and being offside. And I think the goalkeeper's made such a feeble attempt to try and keep it out that's almost, I mean, if he does make an attempt, Jack Hendry is going to block him, so you can't really say it's not offside. But the frustration that it does come with, one, there's no way the goalkeeper's ever saving it, and two, the offside isn't given initially.
Barry mentioned the body language. I mean, we all look at body language. You especially. Being players, ex-players, player ex-player. Yeah, but do referees and officials not look at body language? And exactly what you said, Barry, that the goalkeeper has not made any move towards the referee to say, I've just been fouled, or I've been interfered with in terms of the flight of the ball.
That's the first thing I look at, Rob. When Scott McTominay's free kick hits the back of the net and you're thinking, wow, I mean, a brilliant free kick. The pace on the ball was unbelievable. And the first thing I look at is it going to stand? Because I then look at the Spanish goalkeeper, I look at the players who are round about that ball at that time, and their heads all went down and they started to walk away from the obviously the celebrations the Scotland players were having. So for me, I didn't think they had any issues with it. Obviously the referee did, VAR did. Obviously he goes and he comes back out, and the thing that annoys me and frustrates me is it was given as a foul, Rob, and then they decide to change their mind 5 minutes.
That's a shambles, isn't it?
An absolute shambles. And I feel for the Scotland players, because at that stage they're going crazy. Stephen just mentioned McTominay goes away over to the camera. You see all the players with the staff, they're celebrating. They go for an almighty high to a massive low, and then obviously the crowd then get a lift, and then that obviously makes Spain that bit more angry, and then obviously they step it up a bit.
It's almost like a penalty save. You're almost, I mean, you have conceded when you give away a penalty, you have hope that your goalkeeper can produce one, but in your head you're thinking already the goal's going to go in. You're already 1 down, for example. It's almost becoming like that. Spain gets such a lift from it because they were, as Barry said, they were going nowhere. We spoke last night about making the game where it's just boring. Scotland players are going side to side and Spain are trying to get to 1,000 passes without ever really hurting your goal in the second half. But all of a sudden it hit them up a few gears. And I think if the goal's given, I think the Spain players watching the game back later, and a couple of them might come out, the manager might come out and say, it's offside, should never have been given. But I think later on in their team, their roommates, they might have said, how soft was the goalkeeper there? He's got to do better there. And maybe if he makes a proper attempt to come and get it, then we can maybe argue for offside. But he's not nearly done enough to try and save it. And what a goal!
And when you do analyse the game, you do see that Spain had lots of it. They were unlucky, weren't they? They could have scored in the first minute. Ferran Torres, they hit the inside of the post. They had lots in the game, but as Stephen says, that goal lifts Spain at a point, where they were wondering if they were going to go a goal down, and you just wonder, Barry, what effect that, if the goal had stood, it obviously would lift Scotland, but it would have really deflated Spain, especially off the back of having lost at Hampden.
I think they would have gone, Rob. I'm being honest with you. Listen, you've got to ride your luck at times when you're coming up against top quality opposition. As you mentioned there, they had a great chance the first minute. They have one off the inside of the post. They created a number of other chances, but I just looked at Scotland. I thought they looked really solid and compact, and that's the idea I think that Stevie Clark had, to go there and frustrate them. And as the game went on, if you're at nothing each, then hopefully you get that opportunity, whether it's from a set piece or open play. And we got that opportunity and we get that goal. And I just thought at that moment we scored that goal, and if it stood, they were in trouble, Spain. There was no doubt we would have automatically qualified last night. No doubt in my mind about that.